Am I the idiot for trying to help my sister-in-law? Throw away because my daughter is here. Why? Female 60, daughter 33, female, and her husband 39, male, have been married for almost 9 years and were together for 5 years before that. We had weekly Sunday night dinners together and took family vacations. He liked us and we loved him. A month after their wedding, they moved over 700 miles away and we were limited to infrequent holiday visits when my husband and I would have a Monday off from work. When my daughter was pregnant with their first child, I hated that I had to miss helping her through everything because my sister-in-law didn't know how to handle my daughter being less than on top of her game because she ran their household. I was with them for the birth and my husband drove in to help them move into their new house. We were happy to be there for their first step into this new chapter of their life. Before we left, I wrote my sister-in-law a note with a plea to help my daughter more and some tips for a new father. My daughter confided that he was less than pleased that I didn't think he could figure things out on his own without my help. Years passed and they finally moved back to our home state, where day trips to visit were possible. Our second grandchild was born and sister-in-law decided to be a stay-at-home dad. My daughter was working a menial tech support job with as much overtime as she could handle because he'd been laid off and refused to consider a profession outside of what he'd been doing for the last 20 years to support their family. We came to realize that his definition of SAHD meant putting the oldest on the school bus, putting the toddler in a high chair and aiming it at the TV while he went back to sleep or played computer games until my daughter came home to take over. No housework was done and more than once they fought because he thought his wife should be doing it. She did not agree. When I came to babysit one weekend, I wanted to help get her out from under the mountain of housework that wasn't being done while she was working and found bank statements. They've never had a joint account. The little bit that my sister-in-law was making from a side gig was being spent at the liquor store and, based on the timestamps of the charges, he was leaving at least one kid alone to get his fix. I worried about my daughter and the safety of my grandchildren, but I knew better now than confronting my sister-in-law directly. Instead, I contacted his parents and told them what I'd learned and asked for help in getting their son to straighten up. Rather than help me, they called their son and inflamed our conversation. That night my daughter called me and asked how dare I go through their mail, contact her in-laws, and accuse her husband of being an alcoholic and neglectful parent. I tried to point out that she doesn't know what goes on at their house while she's working so many hours, which didn't help. Now she barely talks to me when we used to have daily phone conversations. I feel I was justified. Would I be the idiot? Comments before the update. You're the idiot votes to heart and called my daughter Abby. I apologized for stepping over previously unknown boundaries and from that point on, I would wait for her to ask me for help than try to step in unsolicited. Things were still chilly, but warming from her, but her husband refused to speak to me, much less occupy the same room. I didn't try to change his mind. I just wanted to be in a position to help my daughter and grandsons. As overworked and distracted as she was, those boys are Abby's life and she'd lay her life down before letting them be hurt. I was given permission to have the boys for a weekend to give the grown-ups some alone adult time. The rest I've heard from Abby. She decided to treat them to a dinner out since she had some unexpected overtime pay and wanted to eat something that didn't come out of the freezer. While at the restaurant, in the bar waiting for a table, he immediately started drinking. He didn't stop until she mentioned that she didn't have the money for a binge, just a decent dinner. He didn't like that and sulked while Abby tried to make the most of their free night. After leaving, he asked why she was in a mood. Floodgates opened and she told him every grievance and frustration she'd had since the baby had been born almost 3 years ago. For the second time in a month, he told her, if you're so freaking unhappy, just leave. Get the frick out. The first time he said that, she just drove away until it was bedtime for the boys. This time, she packed a week's worth of clothes and came here, telling me and her father everything. This isn't the first time they've had to take a break, but she says she's not going back this time. School's out for the summer and her father and I are happy to watch the boys for her while she is commuting to work, but she's considering quitting that job to get something closer to here. Her soon-to-be ex has only come out of his fog to request time with the boys once. He is having to move in with his parents as Abby told him that she flat out refuses to pay more rent for a place she hated and never wanted to live in the first place. He and his parents will have the boys for 3 weeks this summer when everyone's plans get finalized. They're heading toward divorce and I'm not sad over it now. Even Abby says that the man she's separating from isn't the man she married. Only place to go from here is onward and upward. Not the idiot. What matters is that Abby got out of a miserable marriage to an alcoholic who was neglecting their kids. And Abby knows that her parents always have her back and that she can do this and navigate her divorce with your support. It's best to continue with what you're doing, supporting Abby and your grandkids and giving advice when Abby asks, but letting Abby handle her ex and divorce. Not the idiot. Make sure to have a family law attorney on hand before you guys let the kids go to son-in-law and his parents' house for 3 weeks this summer. I wouldn't put it past them to try to do some shady custodial shit. Make sure your daughter's custodial rights are protected, or at the very least, that you've gotten the ball rolling to do that. Document everything, especially those liquor store receipts that corroborate dad's negligence leaving the kids alone while he went to get booze. Glad your daughter is finally finding her way out of a toxic relationship. Do you think she is an idiot? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for wearing my first gen sash against my dad's wife's wishes? Hi all, long-time lurker but first-time poster. I, 27, am graduating from law school next weekend. As a backstory, my parents are divorced and remarried. Things with my father's wife Kelly have always been tense. They got married when I was 16 and the long and the short of it is that I ended up moving back in with my mom due to her. Bluntly, Kelly is also someone who is very hard to like. She's abrasive and quite rude at times. We have never gotten along, but I have for the last 8 years tried harder to be nicer to her for the sake of my father. I went to law school 3 years ago and, at the time, Kelly was not very supportive of my decision and has commented on the fact that she didn't think I would actually see it through. Well, now I'm graduating. I have a great job. I'm really proud of myself because I really feel like I got here on my own hard work. Kelly has never introduced me to anyone nor assisted with my work. In fairness, I also in no way expected her to. Kelly used to be a lawyer. She is not currently, but it's not really anything we have discussed due to not being close in the first place. Now that I am graduating, my law school gave the first-gen law students sashes to wear. My father called me today and I asked that I not wear this sash because Kelly is offended by it. She thinks that I do not consider her family and I am also therefore not a first-generation lawyer. I got frustrated and told my dad that they're both welcome to not come if it offends her so much because I am wearing my Gen 1 sash. My dad got upset as well and essentially said that it's not a big deal to not wear the sash and my sash is invalid due to Kelly being his wife, and thus my stepmother. We ended the phone call on a bad note. Am I the idiot for refusing to not wear my sash for Kelly? I have tried to be diplomatic with Kelly, and I worry this may be the wrong hill to die on. I understand that it's just one graduation, and I wonder if I'm making a big deal out of nothing. On the other hand, I'm really proud of myself. No one else in my family is a lawyer and I will be the first. So Reddit, am I the idiot? Comments before the update. Not the idiot. She sounds like an insecure and controlling shrew. Why would she possibly care about your sash? She's making your graduation about herself, and your dad is feeding right into it. She needs to get over herself, and your dad needs to get his priorities straight. Not the idiot. She's not your mother, so you definitely are a first gen. Wear the sash proudly. She sounds horrible. BTW. Explain that had she ever acted like a mother, i.e. supportive life cheerleader, you might have seen the issue differently, but she didn't so you don't. Congratulations. Update. First, thank you to everyone who replied to my original post. I don't understand what these awards are. I've been a Reddit lurker, but this is my first account so I'm not really sure what any of it means, but thank you. I genuinely thought only like 4 people would respond and tell me I'm being a petty so this was surprising. Second, I want to clarify 2 points. 1. Things with my dad are complicated. Obviously, there's a lot of background I can't all fit here. I love him but we are not as close as we once were. He has been very supportive of my education. He has also struggled with expressing that he is proud of me. Suffice it to say, I got very choked up at internet strangers telling me they are proud. 2. It's actually a stole, not a sash. My mistake. Lastly, my update. I texted my dad after our call and told him that I was sorry for becoming frustrated but I would still wear the sash and meant no offense by it. He apologized to me over text as well. I went out to dinner with my father, Kelly, and paternal grandmother on the night before graduation. It was the typical awkward time. We went to Kelly's favorite restaurant, of course. Dad asked privately before dinner that I not confront Kelly, so I did not. I reiterated to him that I thought this conflict was ridiculous and that I was disappointed he chose to act this way. He apologized again and agreed. He hinted that there was some other deeper issue happening between him and his wife. I said that was not my business and they should work through it, rather than take it out on others. We left it at that. On my day off, I wore my sash, stole. It was a very nice graduation. Lots of photos with my family. Lots of cheering. Kelly was tense and unpleasant, as usual, but I smiled and ignored it. I had a lovely time. I also wrote Kelly a note that I gave her as I left. I told her in the note that it was not my intention to hurt her feelings, but also my school is recognizing that I do not come from parents who are lawyers to celebrate my work. I also said that people change all the time and that our relationship to one another could change too with time and effort on both sides. I might be the now, because frankly my note feels disingenuous since I have no real intention of being friendly with her. Keep your enemies close. Alternatively, litigation taught me that creating a written record is important. Things are gonna be tough with my dad for a while too. We had talked about taking a trip together after I took the bar, and I do not want to go with him anymore. I have a strong feeling Kelly will never mention the note to me nor my father. I mostly now just feel sad and tired, but I'm also ready for the next chapter of my life. Thank you again to everyone. Not the idiot. I'm glad you had a peaceful celebration. I don't think the note is disingenuous. Notes like that, platitudes like that, they are like social grease to reduce friction in tense relationships. It's no big deal as long as you are generally respectful, not a pushover, just respectful as you would be towards any stranger or acquaintance. What more can be reasonably asked of you? Not the idiot. Congratulations and good luck on your bar exam. You are 100% right. Your father's issues with Kelly are not your issue and they need to resolve it between themselves. I personally think your dad needed to grow a backbone and stand up for you, but you did an excellent job doing it for yourself and with such grace. For now, focus on your own future and worry about others later. Each day it will get a bit easier to handle, and I hope one day you find peace. Should they have listened to their father? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for telling my parents that I hate them and will be sleeping at a friend's for the next few days? So as a teenager I was quite badly abused by a family friend. He was my age and he did all the abuse at school. I kept it a secret until a few days ago when I decided to tell my mom and dad about the abuse. All was okay until my mom told me her and dad knew about the abuse. Now that would have been fine if dad wasn't constantly bringing him to the house and letting my abuser work for him. So they were knowingly letting my abuser get close to me. I got super pissed, told them I freaking hated them, packed up all my poop and am currently staying with a friend until I can get a bus back down to my place. My parents have been blowing up my phone trying to apologize, explain why they did what they did. But I have not answered as I don't know what to say. Honestly, part of me doesn't want to see them again, but the other part of me feels like an idiot for not letting them explain why. Am I the idiot? Comments before the update. Not the idiot. If they knew about the abuse and kept your abuser in close proximity to you, they're just as guilty as the abuser. I'm sorry you experienced this. Not the idiot. There's no excuse for that. They utterly failed in their first job as parents, keeping you safe. The fact that it is now making them feel bad that you know about it is ridiculously immaterial, and frankly pretty gross. Update. So I know it's only been a day, but I got a bus ticket for later today back down to my place, so I thought I would have one last chat with my mom and dad before I cut them out completely. I said I would just listen to why they decided to do what they did, and they didn't have a good enough reason. They were saying how they didn't know what to do, and dad thought that by acting like his father. My abuser lost his father in a motorcycle crash. He would stop. I then asked them why they failed to protect me as parents. They had no answer and kinda just looked down at the floor. I told them that they are lucky I was so strong and got through my eating disorder and other issues myself, because from now on I would be doing everything myself. I also added that I would be keeping in contact with my younger sister, and if anything like this happens I will be calling the police and getting custody of her, so you better not frick up with your other daughter. I'm keeping an eye on my sister. I told them that this would be the last time they would see me, and I got up and left. Both mom and dad cried a lot and begged for my forgiveness but refused and left. Thanks so much for the messages. You gave me strength to do this, and I love you all. Not the idiot. I always found it strange when people couldn't stand up for themselves against poor treatment from their family. When I read the original story, I assumed that would be exactly what their excuse would be if you had talked to them. Something along the lines of hoping your abuser being close would cause some sort of change. Congratulations on standing up for yourself. It's too bad your parents couldn't do it for you. I don't have any kids, but I couldn't imagine letting someone abuse them and inviting said person to be around while it happened.